I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. Johanna, will you read the statement of compliance?
The notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act for this meeting have been satisfied. A copy of the annual meeting notice was sent to the press of Atlantic City, the Star Ledger, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, the municipal website, and filed in the office of the municipal clerk. Please turn off all cell phones.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Johanna, please take the roll.
Mayor Collins,
Here.
Commissioner Blumberg, Commissioner Horn.
Here.
All right, we will begin with our engineering report. Ed?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we're starting off, as always, on our dredging projects, items A and B. On item A, which is our citywide dredging permit, no real update here other than we're getting the survey work scheduled for that additional survey we need to do. There's actually three components to this survey. There's an aerial piece where we'll actually fly the area and do an aerial survey using LiDAR. There's a bathymetric piece, which involves watercraft. We'll have a survey equipment on our boat to survey the depth of the water. And then there's a field piece where we actually send out our traditional survey crew that will go out and they actually set targets for the aerial survey. So that way everything is properly coordinated. So that first piece, the field survey work, is the first component, and that is being scheduled. The bathymetric will likely happen maybe a month or so down the line when some of the boat traffic is a little lower, so we can have access throughout the water. So that's in progress, and as we've discussed, once that is completed, we can wrap up and update our plans, submit them, and hopefully have our permit in hand in short order. Item B is the same update as last meeting, which is we're waiting for the DEP to provide their final comments on the studies done by Stockton. They've indicated that we will hear from them by September 15th, so we will await their comments. Item C is Winchester Avenue, our 2022 state aid rebid, which is out to bid now. Bid opening is next week on August 24th, so we will receive those bids and potentially take action at the following meeting to move forward with that construction contract. Likewise, we have a couple other projects that are now out to bid as part of our upcoming capital program. The bicycle lanes on Atlantic Avenue is out to bid, as well as our Well 8 project, which is also out to bid. They're both bid opening on August 30th. And then a couple other projects, I'm jumping around a little bit, are approaching bid advertisement, which would be the next phase of Winchester Avenue from Claremont to Douglas. So we are preparing those plans and specifications for bids, as well as the 2023 road program, which are also, so those will be the next two that'll go out to bid for construction. The Sig Rim basketball court reconstruction and the Sig Rim new restroom building, those two projects have completed their survey work. We're now doing the engineering, and they too will follow with construction bids. So we're looking at all of these projects as far as the construction costs as part of the upcoming capital budget. So those are all moving along as scheduled. The turning the page, our Adams Avenue Storm Sewer Pump Station is in progress. In the engineering phase, we have submitted documentation to the DEP and to the Army Corps to get confirmation on what permits would be required. We have heard back from Army Corps. They have indicated that what's called a nationwide permit is required, which is the easier permit. So that's the equivalent of a general permit in DEP parlance. So that is good. We're just waiting back to hear back from DEP. And concurrently, we are scheduling a structural evaluation of the underground vault on Adams Avenue, which we will attempt to repurpose as a wet well for the pump station if we can, which would result in some cost savings. So that is all in progress. The library roof project, we're taking a look at that as well as part of capital. As far as how much funds will be needed to award this contract, we've gone through a couple different channels as far as bids and co-ops. Work with Roger to see how we want to proceed, but the funding is being reviewed for that. The municipal building renovations phase 2 project, which the bids were rejected earlier this month, we've dropped back and we're taking a look at the entire building, different ways that we might want to package these bids for this particular project and potentially other spaces. And we're also just taking a big picture, long range look at the building before we decide how to proceed on this particular bid and any other work we may want to complete in the short term. Item M is our library park evaluations project, which we have our last piece is being completed as far as our site visit. The architectural visit occurred this morning, so we will get all of that information pulled together and prepare a report of our findings, some recommendations, and then some conceptual design as far as what we might be able to do to improve that site. So we'll have some options to review with staff soon. Items N and O, there's no update on these two items, which are related to our CRS program. So we talked about these at a prior meeting where we got some input from FEMA for our flood warning and response plan, and we are working on incorporating that input. Item P is the iBank component of the water meter replacement program. There's no update here. We are still awaiting some additional information from the vendor to try to secure this funding through iBank, so I'll report as soon as we hear back with additional information. For pending grant applications, there's no update on the list, although you can see the items that have been funded. Jumping down to our construction projects, no update under our open maintenance bonds. Our next inspection will be in mid-September, which we have a few on here that actually came off the list. I didn't leave them on here as crossed out, but we did close out a couple of the projects, so we're whittling that list down as part of the closeout process. Item U is the Margate Library HVAC project that has been completed. I believe I mentioned at the prior meeting that there were some items that were identified in the final balancing report, which is standard procedure for a project like this. And there is a change order on the agenda today, I believe, for some additional work that will help optimize the system, the new system over there, that we recommend that we move forward with. I believe most of the work is being covered by the allowance, and then the additional cost is being covered by the library. So it's not coming out of our budget. The municipal building interior renovation project, most of the punch list items have been addressed by Maxwell Construction as well as other vendors that worked on this project. The one major item remaining are the front doors. I can tell you that my office has been working daily with probably 3 or 4 different parties that are kind of involved on this particular issue, and we believe we're getting close to a resolution. So hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have a plan of action on how to move forward. And if anybody has any questions, I can go into more detail. But we have been working very hard to try to coordinate all the different parties who are involved and, frankly, not taking responsibility for the issue. So we're just trying to sort that out. Item W is phase 1 of the water meter replacement program, which is awarded, and we will be scheduling a pre-construction meeting for that. Item X is the batting cage project. There's an item on the agenda today for some additional work that we're going to complete before closing that project out. And then on the last item, which is the flood mitigation work at this building, we're still waiting on that schedule from the contractor for our special order items. And as soon as we have that, we can back into a construction date. Go ahead.
And I'd like to elaborate. We did issue the permit for that,
Okay, great.
that vendor.
Great. And that's my report.
All right, thank you, Ed.
Yep.
Scott, would you like to
Certainly.
proceed, please?
Number of items are, we've recently received correspondence involving the Island House. They are not happy with the fact that a consent order was entered into regarding the greenhouse utilization of the beach area. They've outlined why they feel that's inappropriate. Nevertheless, there is an order from the DEP allowing it. So how that will work out, I have no idea. I think they're too late to challenge it. I know they are for this year, but I assume they're going to try to fight that. That's coming. I think you recently got from our city clerk that correspondence. They don't want the greenhouse using the adjoining beach area. I believe they're allowed to by statute. Apparently the DEP land use people felt that way too. So we'll see where that one goes. We're also recently been served, the city has been added to 2 zoning challenges. Our planning board denied a commercial development at Douglas and Ventnor Avenue. We also have a challenge of a denial of a fence. So the planning board does take these applications very seriously, and they have recently on several of them have said no, which is being challenged. But I think the recent enactment of some of these zoning amendments will be a factor, at least with the one at Douglas and Ventnor Avenue. And Hopefully, they'll return. We think there's a settlement in mind. Still has to go through a public hearing. Planning board still has to review it and approve it, but hopefully that'll work out and be resolved. As far as the fence case, I don't really know. They added the city, but that's typically a planning board versus the applicant who's denied. And both of these, by the way, you'll see correspondence go to our JIF carrier, but they're not really insurable items that get involved with JIF coverage. But as a matter of course, we always let them know of all lawsuits. That's all that is. One other thing. Now, last Friday, I attended a meeting with some of our sister communities, specifically Ventnor and Brigantine, where Brigantine, I believe, has been the point man on this one. They're looking into ways to possibly challenge the windmills that are being built off of our coastline here. A law firm there, Pashman, Stein, Walder, and Hayden, had a representative. The lawyer's name was Frank Huddle. He was laying out possible avenues of challenging the permitting process. I asked him point blank what he thought they were going to charge, what kind of money we looking at. Didn't have an answer. There is no budget. They do want to get a public relations company involved. This is something that you're going to probably consider over the next month or so. There are a number of communities lining up. I can tell you this, though, that the windmill project is moving full steam ahead. I was up at Gardner's Basin on Sunday. I didn't realize how far along that, what is that, a supply depot, whatever it is, it's probably $50 to $100 million already spent just in Atlantic City. They've got over 700 foot of bulkhead, very thick steel, reinforced concrete. They're building the works over, I believe it's Paulsboro. So, you know, it's going to be up to you. I was very impressed with Brigantine's Vince Sierra, the mayor. He knows this inside out. He really is very detailed. And I believe he's going to reach out to the three of you to discuss with you, because the guy's really sharp and he was on top of it. But again, you're going to have to make up your decision. I mean, does Margate kick in money to fight the state of New Jersey and fight the federal government? I don't know. That's going to be up to you. You don't have to make that decision today, but this is something you're going to have to think about and consider. Let's see, that should be about it. And I think we have our zoning ordinance amendments in. I think they're law now, right, Johanna?
They were advertised, yes.
And they were advertised, so those new standards are in effect. And I believe the board's going to consider some other possible revisions down the line, but not yet, but they're getting there. That's about
Great.
it.
Thanks, Scott. Jim?
You can.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioner. Couple things. We had a lot. This is a busy month we've had for closing out new houses. I think we had a dozen new houses since the beginning of the month. So welcome to Margate, all the new residents who have now recently purchased new houses. We also are getting ready to move forward. The moratorium for the demolition is up on September 15th, so I think we're going to see a lot of movement coming in for more demolitions and more construction. So we're looking for a busy fall. Maybe Chief Dan can chime in a little bit on this, but we've had a couple of job site safety accidents recently that have, a couple people have been harmed pretty bad. One fall where a gentleman was paralyzed. I think he still is paralyzed, right, Dan?
I'm not really at liberty to say a whole lot about his condition, but
He's not.
the gentleman is still in the hospital as far as I'm aware.
So this happened due to a scaffolding equipment that was on the front of a building on new construction. OSHA requires anybody over 6 feet is to be tethered or in some type of a hoistway or a safety belt and a rope, and somebody's supposed to be on the end of it. There was a safety rope there, but the gentleman wasn't being monitored. OSHA's clear. Anything over 6 feet, they must have a safety harness and they must have fall protection measures. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The other issue was somebody was using a machinery and a part of their body got caught into the blade. But anytime, any machinery, anywhere you're using, please use safety. Think before you... I was always told when I was growing up, think before you ink. please be careful out there. That's very important. And it only takes 20 seconds just to think about what you're doing before you do it. If the gentleman had looked at that scaffolding and realized it was ready to collapse. If the gentleman looked at the saw and realized the wood was in the proper position, he probably wouldn't have cut the wood. So I think precaution is the best word of the day here, and we can't police the job sites. We would like not to. I mean, we'd like to, but we can't. It's just it would create such a legal issue for us. But we try to remind the general public and the contractors that they must be aware of their job site conditions. That's all I have.
Thanks, Jim. Chief Hankinson?
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to thank Mayor and Commissioner Horn for attending a law day. It's a good event. Like we've done it, I think it's 20 years now. We try to get other agencies to come out. You know, we had the animal shelter out there this year, intergenerational services, the prosecutor's office came out. It's just a good time to get a lot of different departments together under the same tent. So I appreciate your support for coming out. Just briefly, I know this is one of our last meeting in September, not saying the summer's over, but even just looking at numbers so far for this year up to August, I know with the police department, when I ran the numbers yesterday, we have answered over 11,000 calls for service so far this year. So I would say for the size of the department we have and the great support we have from the city, it's great to run the department efficiently, and our summer has seen a lot of people, a lot of cars, a lot of everything. So it's a lot of work, but the support is great that we have from the city. That's all I have.
Thanks, Chief. Ken?
Thank you, Mayor. I just have one item for right now, and that's the successor agreement with Atlanticare Health for services for applicants and the employees, occupational services for, I'm trying to think of the word, when we get our physicals and things like that. Sorry. That's all I have for now.
Thank you. Chief Adams?
Just very brief, on the beach patrol side of things, I'm going to get a report from Chief Smallwood. Due to staffing, there are going to be some beaches that are going to start closing, especially during the week due to staffing issues and being able to keep them open. So I will make sure that we publicize that on our Facebook and webpage, and we get the information out to everyone. The beaches will be clearly marked when they are closed. The no swimming sign, on the roof of the stand is posted and facing, the sand dunes for the access to the beach. This happens every year when the college students go back to school. It's just something we have to work through, but we'll do our best to try and advertise that, to get that out there. As for the fire department, I'll echo Chief Hankinson. We're responding to more calls than we have in a long time, and the summer has been very busy, and it's attributed to more people being here in general. So we haven't had any issues, thankfully. But we appreciate, again, your support, and especially the support of the police officers. They do an outstanding job assisting us on medical calls and other relative matters. So we just thank them for their support. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Johanna?
On today's agenda, we have a person-to-person, place-to-place liquor license transfer. This license has been in pocket status for many years. With the changes to the zoning, it will be located at 9710 Ventnor Avenue. All the paperwork has been done and all the advertisement has been placed in the paper, so that's it for me.
Thank you. We will now open to public comment. If anyone has any comment on any of the items discussed in this meeting today, please step forward to the microphone.
Dennis Gorniewski, 7702 Amherst Avenue. For the last two meetings, I've been hearing this thing about this dredging project. It's been going on from the last meeting, 7 years. I understand that now the survey that was done originally with money that was granted through, from what I saw in one meeting, Sandy, now we have to pay out of pocket to have a new survey done. So how much was the grant that was given to us originally, and what's going to cost the residents here now in Margate to do something that should have been done 7 years ago?
So I don't have the exact grant amount from the Sandy grant, but what I said at that meeting was that a survey was done as part of a lot of different type of work for the Sandy recovery. a survey was done of the back bay really to quantify the damage, you know, the material that washed into the back bays as part of the storm. We used that survey to get us to this point for dredging, but we always knew we were going to need a new survey. We waited until this point so that we wouldn't need a third survey, right? The way the DEP rules work is you can only use a survey that is so many months old. So we waited until this point. It got us 90% of the way, and now we need to do an additional survey according to the DEP rules to get our permit.
Thank you, Ed. Any other public comment? Is there a motion to close public comment?
Motion.
Second?
Mayor Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Horn?
Yes.
All right, I have nothing further. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
I will second.
Mayor Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Horn?
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
We will reconvene at 6 o'clock.